Hello, the purpose of this video is just to show you, Paula and Martha, how to embed the general education written assessment rubric into the evaluation of the final paper. Again, thank you for meeting with me this morning. If you have any questions as we progress, please do not hesitate to reach out. I tried my best to update the master course shell. Inevitably, there's usually one or two things that are missed, a change in course due date, etc. I don't normally worry too much about those because I can catch them, except when I'm also passing a course on to a colleague and I just want it to be perfect. So I hope you don't find too many errors. First, so let's move to assessments and click on assignments. Now, remember, for that final paper, there is a final paper in this course, and there is a rubric specific to that final paper where the students can earn a maximum of 30 points. Okay, that is uploaded in Brightspace. But there is another rubric that the General Education Committee would like us to complete for assessment purposes. It is the General Education Committee Written Assessment Rubric. And so for the final paper, we also need to evaluate it based on that rubric. Now, I think it's best that we just make available to the students the rubric in which they will be graded for the evaluation methods. So I like to keep the general education assessment rubric hidden. So let me show you how to upload that rubric, but also to hide that rubric. I don't even mention it to the students, right? They don't need to see it. Now, last year, I did try to mirror the rubric for 367, the final paper, uh, to that of the General Education Committee assessment rubric. But there are some things that are specific to Nursing 367 that just are not reflected in that assessment rubric the General Education Committee wants us to use. So the rubrics are not uh, 100% the same, although they may mirror each other in some ways. It was just not possible for them to be 100% identical because there are some things that are specific to Nursing 367 that we want evaluated in the final paper. All right, so we've clicked on assessments and we've clicked on assignments, and you'll see final paper. Go ahead and click on edit assignments. Okay. Now you'll see right away that there is one rubric attached for that paper. Okay, and so that is the final paper rubric that is specific to the paper that is submitted at the end of the semester. It is worth 30 points. But we also need to upload the General Education Committee rubric. So we are going to go ahead and click on Add Rubric, Add Existing. If we arrow down, arrow back up here, there it is. Written Communication, General Education, Revised, Spring 2020. That is the rubric the committee would like us to complete relative to this final paper. We're going to go ahead and click Add Selected. Okay. Now we need to arrow down. We need to make sure that the default scoring rubric is set for the final paper and not the written communication general education rubric because the points are not the same. The rubrics are not the same. So what we want to transfer to the gradebook are the scores from the final paper. So we want to make sure final paper is selected and click Save and Close. But in this way, when students submit their final paper, you can grade it via the final rubric. That score will transfer to the gradebook, but you can also evaluate it based on the General Education Assessment rubric. That number is hidden, but IT has a method or strategies to pull those numbers and communicate those to the General Education Committee. Now, I do want to make sure that that assessment is hidden. So if we move up to Tools and we click on Rubrics and we arrow down to, let's find it, the Written Communication General education assessment. If we click on that, here is the rubric by which you will be evaluating the final paper for the General Education Committee. Again, there are some similarities with our own final rubric, but they could not be 100% identical. You'll see where it is documented that the rubric is hidden from the students. And so I believe that the students will only see the rubric for the final paper, and they will only see that score. When you do provide a score for the general education rubric, it will not be visible to them, but it should still be accessible by the IT department to transfer or to provide to the general education committee. So when we go back to assessments and assignments, and we now visit the final paper, let's take a look at that. Click on Edit. There should be two evaluation methods. Let's see. Indeed, there are. There are two rubrics. Click on that. There's the final rubric and there's the written communication general education committee rubric. But the default scoring rubric, the one that's going to transfer to the gradebook, is the one relative to the final paper. Okay? So let's save and close. So I think that represents maybe the only other thing, the only update that needs to be made to your course, and that is to embed the General Education Committee written communication assessment tool into that final paper and into that final paper only. And then we want to try and be sure, I just think it's a good idea to keep that rubric hidden so as not to confuse the students. It's just something that I complete after I look at my rubric for the final paper. I will just go ahead and take a look at that rubric for the General Education Committee, click on my boxes, and then it's done just like that. So it doesn't take a lot of time, and hopefully it's efficient. It's an efficient process. Please do not hesitate to reach out if you have questions or concerns. All right, thank you so much.